This presentation has been designed as an overview of Tier 1 support and instruction. It includes effective practices and elements of core instruction, defining Tier 1, and taking a closer look at Tier 1 problem solving, planning, monitoring, and review. An essential component to implementing an MTSS framework in your school is to ensure core instruction is well defined and consistently communicated and implemented according to those standards. Core instruction is standards-based instruction. This includes ensuring teachers know their standards, plans and implements instruction focused on those standards with an appropriate pattern of formative assessment to monitor student mastery. Effective practices of core instruction begin with the use of an evidence-based curriculum, using explicit and systematic strategies of instruction with meaningful practice that allow for differentiated instruction in process, content, and product, considering the specific needs of all students in the class. It is also essential to provide opportunities for students to apply skills and strategies in a variety of ways, using strategies that have been proven to be effective with an appropriate combination of formative and summative assessment. Another consideration for effective instruction is to identify the essential elements of subject area instruction. In literacy instruction, for example, essential practices include the use of diverse texts for direct literacy instruction, balanced with opportunities for small group and self-directed learning while participating in varied text activities. Also essential are including word and vocabulary study and writing activities that guide the writing process, as well as using writing to interact with text. And finally, essential aspects of effective math instruction include balancing direct instruction that includes connecting abstract algorithms to the concrete situations they express, with opportunities for practice for application of understanding. Also essential are opportunities to explore problem-solving strategies to a variety of math situations and topics that will allow them to use reasoning and proof, as well as make connections to other concepts to build a depth of math understanding and application. None of these aspects of instruction should be surprising or unfamiliar to any educator. The question is, do we regularly reflect and examine our implementation of instruction according to these practices, discussing areas of needed growth openly, making adjustments, and looking for opportunities to build capacity where there is need at the school level, grade level, in subject areas, and at classroom levels? This particular practice has more impact on overall student growth than any level of additional instructional supports. Now, let's take a look at how Tier 1 is designed to provide support to that quality core instruction. Tier 1 instruction is focused on planning and implementing support to core instruction, of course. It should be provided to all students in support of general education curriculum, which aligns to the North Carolina Standard Course of Study and uses research-based programs and practices. Research shows that if core instruction is effective, about 75 to 80% of our students should meet or exceed benchmark goals. If this percentage of students is not meeting benchmark goals, then this is intended to be interpreted as an indicator of an area of foundational skills that may need to be reinforced during core instruction. As a district, a primary goal for the 17-18 school year is to clearly define the attributes of effective core instruction and productive Tier 1 support and problem solving. MTSS problem solving follows this cycle of problem identification, problem analysis, planning instruction to address the problem, and evaluating the plan to determine if it's adequately addressing the needs of students. You will see this problem-solving process implemented at Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 levels of instructional support. All levels of instructional support begin with data teams. The data team that conducts problem solving at Tier 1 level of support is the grade level PLC team. This team should consist of an administrator, a case colleague, grade level and subject area teachers, particularly those who are providing Tier 1 instruction. Other helpful staff members to contribute to Tier 1 problem solving are the Title I teacher, teacher assistants, support staff, interventionists, and tutors, especially if they are providing Tier 1 instruction. The grade level PLC teams review grade level data on a regular basis to make instructional decisions such as Tier 1 instructional support planning and monthly review of Tier 1 implementation. An important role on the Tier 1 problem-solving team is that of the case colleague. Their primary roles are to guide fellow teachers in problem-solving discussions and making data-driven decisions regarding instruction. Assisting teachers with developing those instructional plans for Tier 1 and Tier 2, and helping to locate instructional resources as well. Primarily, though, the main focus for case colleagues is to be that key person to help maintain fidelity of MTSS implementation process at the grade level, ensuring that progress monitoring is happening and being analyzed, and documentation of planning, implementation, and review. Tier 1 problem solving begins with grade level PLC teams looking at grade level data. Specifically, reports that provide information about grade level proficiency. One example is the composite report from M-Class. It provides an overall percentage of benchmark proficiency for a grade level. If foundational skills for that grade level do not reflect a proficiency of 75 to 80%, then this is an indicator to address those skills with a Tier 1 instructional plan to address those skill needs within core instruction. The Tier 1 problem-solving process includes ways to address foundational skill needs of larger groups as a whole that align with the school improvement plan. Grade level PLC teams use the Tier 1 documentation to plan a strategy to address the foundational skill needs within core instruction. If at least 75 to 80% of students have mastered foundational skills, then a plan can be written to support core level skills for the grade level. Here are some examples of some Tier 1 instruction plans. Example 1 is an overview of data indicating that 60% of fourth graders reach the benchmark for oral reading fluency. So oral reading fluency is a key foundational skill for fourth grade comprehension. So we want to target that skill within core instruction and try to move that proficiency level up to 80%. So the plan would be to model fluency strategies and provide opportunities for practice during core instruction at least 10 minutes a day in an effort to improve that percentage of students to reach the next benchmark for oral reading fluency. Another example of a Tier 1 instructional plan that responds to data would be if data indicates that 55% of our 7th graders reach the benchmark for the Maze Comprehension Assessment, which would indicate that a number of our students need foundational comprehension skills addressed in order to be able to acquire 7th grade core literacy instruction. So we develop a Tier 1 plan to model using main idea and detailed strategies at the beginning of the week for students to use in small groups with selected text at least 15 to 20 minutes a day within our core instruction to try to move up that percentage of our 7th graders closer to 80% to indicate that they have foundational comprehension skills needed to acquire their core content. Now, once this plan is designed and then implemented, we want to make sure that we monitor it on a regular basis. So, grade level PLC teams should monitor Tier 1 plans monthly. Questions such as, are we implementing this plan with consistency? If not, what are the obstacles? Do we need to make adjustments to the plan? And does existing data indicate that progress in that skill area that we're targeting is being made? When benchmark data is collected, that's the time for Tier 1 review for that PLC grade level team led by the case colleagues to formally review that plan. In that review, we examine if existing data indicates that progress is indeed being made in that skill area. And then we complete the Tier 1 review by documenting the data that's available and what decisions we've made in response to that data to drive future Tier 1 instruction. So in summary, these are the things to keep in mind for Tier 1 support and instruction. Be sure to define and examine quality implementation of core instruction. Establish grade level PLC teams. Those teams should review grade level data to determine areas to support core instruction. And develop and implement a Tier 1 instructional plan. Case colleagues initiate Tier 1 monitoring and reviews. Monitoring happens monthly, and reviews of the plan happen each semester when benchmark data is collected. We hope that you found this information to be helpful and that you'll check out our other presentations to help with other levels of instructional support within your MTSS framework school improvement design.